Hello students, welcome to our second video lecture of this chapter, which is chapter number 8, sorting materials into groups. Okay. So students, previously we have seen the basic introduction part of the chapter and we have discussed one very important property of the chapter, which is appearance. Okay. Appearance property we have discussed. So today we are going to discuss the next few properties. There are 4 or 5 properties are there which is listed in the chapter. So we will discuss one by one. So secondly we are going to discuss the property which is hardness. Okay. So let us discuss the hardness property. What is hardness? What do you mean by hardness? What this property tells us? Okay. Let us discuss one by one. So basically students, when we press different materials with our you can say hands, some of them get easily pressed, but some of them may be hard to compress. Okay. Let us take two materials. Let us take this you can say these two. These are stone, iron, and this is sponge. Okay. So if I want to press this stone or if I want to press this iron, can I press them easily? Definitely not. But if I press this sponge, I can easily press it. Okay. So just have a look. The same thing that I have told, it is written here, that take a stone and a sponge and try to compress them. Okay. What do you find? You can easily press the sponge while you will not be able to press the stone. Now just think and answer, which is harder, wood or stone? Definitely you can easily understand. Let us try a trick. Rub wood and stone against each other. If the wood gets scratched by the stone, then the stone is harder than wood. Definitely students, we have known that a stone is much harder than wood. Okay. So the thing is that, or the definition is that, you can say that materials which can be compressed or scratched easily are called soft materials. Okay. And while the materials which are difficult to compress are called hard materials. Okay. So two types of materials are there in the property of hardness. Okay. We have seen two types of properties. First kind of you can say terminology, you can say, or soft materials. What do you call soft materials? The materials which can be scratched or compressed easily. They are called soft materials, such as example is, you can say, sponge. Okay. And hard materials means the materials which are difficult to compress are called hard materials, such as you can say stone, iron. These are some kinds of hard materials. Okay. Clear? Very easy one. So this hardness property, there are two terms, soft materials and hard materials. Okay. And for your knowledge, diamond is the hardest naturally occurring substance. Okay. And talcum powder or talcum prepared from soft stone is the softest. Okay. So diamond is the hardest material and talcum is the soft material or softest materials. Okay. So this is our property which we call it as hardness. Okay. So I hope you can easily understand the property. Okay, there should not be any problem in this property. So if there is no problem, then let us discuss to the next property which we call as solubility. Okay, what do we call solubility? So to understand this property, let us discuss this activity which we call activity 8.4. Okay, so what this activity tells us, students? This activity tells us that collect samples of solid substances. Okay. So what you have to do? We have to collect samples of some solid substances. Okay. For example, what are the solid substances? Salt, sugar, sand, sawdust, okay, chalk powder, etc. You can collect anything. You can collect salt, you can collect sugar, you can collect sand, you can collect sawdust, okay, you can collect chalk powder. And take 5 beakers and fill them each about 1/2 with water. You can see here, students, this type of structures we can call it as beaker. Okay, these type of structures. Here we have taken 5. You can see this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. Okay, so 5 beakers we have taken. Okay, and each beaker we have taken. See that the first beaker we can take the salt. Okay, the second beaker we can take the sugar. The third beaker we can take the sand, the fourth beaker we can take the sawdust, and the fifth beaker we can take the chalk powder. Okay. In this way we have taken these things. Okay. You can see here different materials are there in different beakers. Okay. So our motto is we have taken 5 beakers, okay, and different solid substances we have taken, okay, and the each beaker are half filled with water, okay, same amount of water are there in each beakers, okay. Now just have a look. Okay, now add a spoonful of salt to the first beaker, sugar to the second beaker, sand to the third beaker, okay. Similarly, other substances to the remaining beakers, okay, and stir the contents each of them with a spoon, okay. So we just take a spoon and we stir the solution properly in each beakers, okay, like this. So what will happen? All these things will just mix with the water and record your observations. So let us discuss, students, that what are the observations or what do we see. So table 8.5 says that you can say that salt, if we dissolve salt, you can say all the 5 substances are written here. What are the solid substances that we have taken? Salt, sawdust, sand, sugar, chalk powder. These are the 5 substances that we have taken, and we have to write that whether they dissolves or they doesn't dissolve in water, okay. So salt, it can easily dissolve in water, sawdust, it doesn't dissolve in water, similarly sand, it will also doesn't dissolve, okay, sugar, it will definitely dissolve, okay, chalk powder will not dissolve in water, okay. So by seeing the, you can say, solubility, we can differentiate the particles or materials into different groups. Now from the above activity, we can say that 2 things, that the substances, first is the substances which dissolve in water are called soluble substances, and the substances which do not dissolve in water are called insoluble substances, okay. So 2 terminologies are there, soluble substances and insoluble substances. I am repeating my words, the substances which dissolves in water are called soluble, such as you can say salt is a, you can say, soluble, sugar is soluble in water, but the substances which do not dissolve in water are called insoluble, such as you can say sand, you can say sawdust, you can say chalk powder, okay, these are insoluble substances, okay. I hope you have understood this, okay. So let us discuss the next one then. Now in the above activity, students, what we have seen, in the above activity we have seen that, just have a look, in the above activity we have seen some solid materials, okay. Now the question arises, do liquids also dissolve in water? The thing is that what we have taken in the previous activity, we have taken you can say sawdust, we have taken, you can say, chalk powder, we have taken sand materials, we have taken salt, we have taken sugar. So all these 5 items are solid particles. Now we are trying to know that whether some liquids can also mix with water or not. So let us discuss this activity 8.5. So what this activity tells, that collect samples of some liquids such as lemon juice, alcohol, coconut oil, kerosene, vinegar or any other liquid, and 5 test tubes. Similarly, just like previous, we have taken 5 test tubes filled with water. Now with the help of dropper, add each sample to different test tube and observe carefully and record your observations, okay. So in table 8.6, we want to discuss that whether liquids are soluble in water or not, okay. That means the solubility test of liquid we are going to discuss in this chapter, okay. So just have a look in this table, the very left, it is written the name of the liquids, lemon juice, alcohol, coconut oil, and in this right you can say column, we have to write whether they mix well or doesn't mix with water, okay. Here it is water, okay, whether they are mixed or doesn't mix with water, okay. So you can say lemon juice, it mixed well. If you put alcohol, it also mix well, but for coconut oil it will not mix with water, okay. So by seeing this table, we can easily understand that what are the liquids that are mixed with water very easily, or what are the liquids that doesn't mix with water, okay. You can see few more examples are there, kerosene, vinegar, honey, milk, okay. These are also some examples, okay. You can see kerosene doesn't mix, okay. Okay, if you go for milk, you can say milk it will mix, honey it will mix, okay. So these are the things, students, okay, that can mix or that can't mix with water, but they are all liquids. Okay. Okay, now just have a look, those liquids, so here also we can get two terms. First one, those liquids that get completely mixed in water are called miscible liquids. Okay, that means they can easily mix with water, such as honey. And those liquids that do not mix with water and form a separate layer are called immiscible liquids. Okay, immiscible liquids such as kerosene, oil, okay, these kind of things. Okay. So students, these terms can easily come in your examination like that, differentiate between miscible liquids and immiscible liquids, okay, differentiate between soft material and hard material, okay. So these kind of things can easily come in your examinations, okay. So you have to prepare the terminologies very well, okay. Okay, now some are the gases you can say like oxygen and carbon dioxide, they are also mixed in water, because we have already known that the aquatic animals that lives in the water such as fish, they take the oxygen, dissolves in water, okay. Okay. Now just have a look students, sorry. There is another activity, activity 8.6, which tells us that collect some samples of some substances like wood, iron nail, paper, stone, cardboard, okay, leaves, pieces of glass. Now take through, you can say fill it with water, drop all substances one by one. Now observe which of the substances float and which of the substances sink. Okay, so this is students our next property, okay, or we can say like this, that this is our property that tells us that whether the objects are float or sink in water, okay. Okay, so let us discuss. So in table 8.7 it is told us that few objects are given, you can say 5 objects are given: wood, iron nail, paper, stone and dry leaves, okay. And you have to tell, if we put this on water, so what will happen, whether they float or whether they sink. So if we put wood, definitely it will float, that's why we have made, we can make the boats, okay, the boats are made by wood, all of you have known, and so definitely the wood will float. Iron nail, definitely it will sink on water, okay. Now paper, what will happen, if you put the paper, it will definitely float. If we put a paper, then it will sink, okay, and dry leaves, definitely it will float, okay. So one new property we have learned students, that, or we can categorize the substances or the materials, that whether they are floating or sinking in water, okay. So this is also one kind of property, okay. So I hope all of you have understood these things. So till now students, how many properties we have discussed? We have discussed, you can say, our first property we have discussed appearance, second property we have discussed as solubility, okay, one more property we have discussed which is hardness, and then whether they are floating or sinking in water, okay. So students, I don't think up to this you have a problem, okay. Now just have a look that on the basis of the given activity, what we can conclude. So basically on the basis of the given activity, we can conclude that substances lighter than water float on it and substances heavier than water sink on it. Very easy one, okay. So we can conclude that the substances, such as if I put a stone into the pond, what will happen? The stone will sink on the water, okay. It will not float because the stone is heavier than water, okay. So the substances or the materials which are heavier than water, they will sink on the water, and those objects or substances, they are, you can say, lighter than water, they can float, such as dry leaves, okay, wood. So these are our conclusion of the part, okay. You can see here in the picture that some objects floats in the water while some others sink on it. You can see that this is a plastic material, it can float on the water. There are some stones, they have sink in the water, okay. You can see so many materials are there which can float, those are lighter than water, and those materials which are heavier than water, they can sink in the water, okay. So Students, that's all for today's class. Okay, one last property is left, which is transparency. Okay, so this transparency property we will discuss in our next class. Okay, so students, thank you all.